personally, I've been lucky enough to spend sort of 20 years working in the outdoors and observing that authentic, as Pete described it, experiences and the impact that can have on the lives of young people and actually people of all ages. And that's why 4 years ago, when Pete Higgins joined A Few Dots and introduced us to the Centre for Innovative Education, I was really keen that Venture Trust got involved and delighted to work with University of Edinburgh, because for us it's been an opportunity to extend our reach, share our experience, and ultimately support great partners and another 1,000 young people nearly to embrace the outdoors and move towards some really good life goals. So it's a great project, as we've heard. It's involved 7 different partners across 4 countries. It's been a great collaboration, and there's a lot of different roles and some great individuals in that partnership. I'm delighted to introduce some of those. We've got a mix of outdoor learner trainers, coaches, and participants, and also a last minute intro from one of the project managers, an outdoor learning trainer who became a project manager as well, which is brilliant. So I'll open them up, and then I've got a few questions, and we'll have a bit of time at the end for questions from the audience, so don't be shy. So in the panel, we have Max, who's an outdoor learning trainer from Spain, Yerai, Spanish participant, Cuba, outdoor learning trainer from CIE in Poland, Matthias, participant from CIE in Poland, and Ovin, outdoor learning trainer and ultimately manager from Ireland. So what I'll do is I'll just go around, and if you could tell us where you're from, what you've done in the project, and what it's meant to you, I think that would be really great to hear directly. And great that you've all made it onto the screen. It's all going very well from a tech point of view. So Max, you're first on the screen if you'd like to go first.
Okay, so I'm Max Prieto. I'm from Madrid, Spain, and I'm an outdoor learning trainer with FEMSA in Spain. And for me, what it's meant is the opportunity to work in the type of work that I'm really passionate about, and see participants do meaningful change, go through some meaningful change in very short, intense time.
That's great. Thanks, Max. Yerai from Spain.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me today. My name is Yerai. I am a geologist. I am from Cantabria, Torrelavega in particular, but currently I am speaking from Dublin. My role in FOLM was a participant of the 14th expedition that was held in summer of 2020. And from my point of view, FOLM project helped me in different ways. First, I just finished my first contract at that point, and I was a bit unmotivated. We were in the middle of the pandemic, no social interaction, no outdoors. So it was the perfect time, was the perfect excuse, if you allow me to use this word, just to get out and have a bit of freedom. So meeting new friends that still today we are in contact, but also it gave me self-esteem and confidence to keep working to achieve my goals. That I think that today I am doing that, and also a bit of teamwork was also probably one of the key skills that this project helped me to develop.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Yerai. And it's been really interesting in the partnership too. It's been difficult enough to deal with the pandemic in Scotland, where we understand what's going on, but we've been working across 4 different countries and trying to balance restrictions to understand that, which has been, well, pretty incredible, really. Cuba, would you like to give us your point of view from Poland?
Hello, my name is Kuba Dorosz, and I'm a head trainer at the Center for Innovative Education. At the beginning of the Polish FOLM, my task was to provide know-how from Venture Trust to Poland. So I was responsible for the organization of the Polish team in terms of all outdoor learning methodology, safety, and of course the logistics. And now I'm a coordinator of the team of trainers, outdoor learning trainers in CIE.
Oh, thanks, Cuba. And it's been really great. One of the great things about FOLM is we've been lucky to go and visit the other countries, and particularly looking at some of the bushcraft and survival activities that they get up to Poland. It's been a real good experience certainly for our trainers as well. We've learned a thing or two as well. Ovin, thank you for coming in last minute. I know you weren't expecting it. But if you could give us your view from Ireland, that'd be great.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. My name's Ovin Ryan, and I work with the TUS, so Technological University of the River Shannon. And yeah, so I've worked on the project for like almost 3 years. I started as an outdoor learning trainer. So I went out in the first few expeditions, and then I moved into the office, and I suppose doing the logistics, and just I suppose for me the FOLM project was really just getting to see how the young people engaged and then progressed and developed throughout the program. And as I've said to Eula in many different interviews, it's all about the participants and the young people. So for me, that's just been an absolute joy seeing that throughout the program, and I'm so grateful to have been a part of this program and a part of this project. So yeah, and welcome to Dublin as well, by the way. So welcome to Ireland.
Oh, thanks, Evine. We also have Matthias on audio, who's a participant in Poland with CIE. Matthias, if you're able to tell us about your experience.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I'm from Poland. I'm 24. I've just graduated from actually Glasgow, so I'm located with you guys in Scotland. I was lucky though, because I participated in FOLM back in 2020 summer. And actually, I was lucky enough to have Kuba as one of my trainers, so I know him in person. I think that the time with COVID and everything, and also just about to begin my honors year at the university, I think it was a crucial moment, the adventure with FOLM, because it allowed me to, first of all, get out. It was middle of the pandemic. Nobody really knew what was happening, and it prepared me mentally much better than I expected to actually teamwork, because it is quite a vital part of design that I work in, and doing things that are meaningful for a group and people relying on each other while being outdoors for a week, it really strengthened this feeling of being interconnected with other people, and helped me later on at the academic level to actually collaborate with my colleagues and teammates. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Thank you, Matthias. And thanks again to the panel for joining us. It's brilliant. I miss seeing you in person, but I'm happy that we can still do this. So it's brilliant to watch the videos and hear from some of the participants just after coffee there. And I got a couple of questions for you, and I'm glad to see some questions coming in from the audience. Keep them coming. In one of the video clips, we heard from Stanislaw in Poland that he learned to recognize his strengths and weaknesses and how to plan for the future. I'm really interested in the panel's views as to how, from your experience, you've observed outdoor experiences and the programme helping young people move towards their goals. It's open if anybody wants to go, or I can prompt you if not. Kuba, you've got your mic off. If you want to tell us.
Yeah, I can try. Well, in my opinion, the outdoor learning gives this type of evidence that allows participants to return to their everyday life with greater awareness of important and universal mechanism that they have. But maybe in some other different circumstances, those evidence might not reveal so easily and so naturally. Because during the expeditions we face with real and practical challenges. So we need to take real and practical actions. And those actions are those obvious evidence for each of participant and for whole team. For example, despite of the rain and the cold, I was careful to properly pack all the wet equipment so I can use it again properly and quickly. So it means that despite of difficulties and discomfort, I have mechanism of diligence and attention to deal, right? Other example, for example, I was able to offer help for others or ask others to help for me. So I have mechanism of faith in people. So I will always be able to support myself in various difficulties in everyday life, right? Other example, leadership. I have, for example, lack of experience in leadership, but I managed the action of the entire team. So from my perspective, it means that I have a mechanism of overcoming of my own fears and resistance, and also mechanism of taking responsibility for situation and for the task in general. So yeah, this is my point of view why the outdoor learning is so needed and so value. This is the great value for young people, because in other circumstances that all evidence might not appear for them.
Oh, thanks, Kiba. And I think that does take us back to good to hear about that building resilience and thinking about those authentic experiences and that they are real. You know, we're not fabricating the stuff in that immersive experience with people are in the moment and they need to work together. I think that's where we begin to get these transversal skills or transferable skills. Yeah, right. Get your hand up there.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I would like to mention something. One of the weakness, but also strengths of this project is the connection. Today we are all linked thanks to Zoom, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media. And that's one of the weakness of society, because I used to use public transport every single day. And if you just check, all the people around is checking the screen, mobile phones, devices, laptops, radio, earphones, AirPods, whatever. So we are just connected with ourselves. And one of the big strengths of this project, at least in the Spanish expeditions, was to propose to all the participants just to put all the mobile phones, devices, all the technology just away for 1 week and just to be focused in your main goals. I think that's just a tiny detail, but it makes a huge difference. As John said this morning, is young people has many to say in the future of this planet, but not everything will be said in 25 characters. So sometimes we just need to focus in what is happening around us and just spend more time with the people that we have lost so many times with the pandemic, sadly, and maybe we can catch up.
Brilliant answer. Thanks, Jirai.
Mike, yeah, if I could just come in there on Yerai's point, I think it's really interesting how outdoor learning just facilitates a space for where young people can actually disconnect from technology, from, you know, digital sources, because, you know, in this day and age, we're constantly connected to our devices, and it's just nice to actually take some time out and sit with ourselves and with a group of people, and as I said, like to actually connect with the people around us and that are actually in front of us. And you know, that was something that I seen with the young people on our expeditions, and both on the place-based model as well that we had in Ireland. It was just that connection, saying like, well, you know, at the end of the day, I will go back to my home or where I've come from, but for right now, I'm gonna just enjoy where I am. And sometimes I think in today's world, we forget to live in the present. And it's like, I think that's what outdoor learning can really help people with, is actually taking a step back and realizing that, you know, let's breathe in this fresh air. Let's look at these trees. Let's, you know, really pay attention to what's going on around us. So I think, you know, when we start to notice the things around us, then we actually we can look inwards and start noticing the strengths and skills that we have internally. And I suppose externally as well, with the people that we interact with, and we become aware of those transversal skills and competencies. So yeah, it was great to hear that, Ira. And it's nice to have it from a participant who's experienced it as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And it takes us back to Pete's comment this morning about young people will build a connection with nature if we take them into the outdoors. And for the audience, I suppose, probably don't sell it like this, but digital detox is a part of the program. So we do put down our phones and communications for the duration. Matthias, I'm aware you're in the bottle. Oh, sorry, Kibako.
No, I just want to say that the Polish participants were really concerned about what they would do during the evenings in the forest without mobile phones, right? So they were so concerned, but after all, they were really surprised how they spent time together, face to face, next to the romantic fire. So that was really great to see those reactions and those surprise.
Bro.
Yeah, and I think it's also came really interestingly after kind of like I was saying, after the pandemic, right, where we were so hyper connected, and then suddenly for some people it was also, for some participants, kind of a struggle, that face-to-face interaction again with the group of people they didn't know, and kind of see that flourish after a couple days.
Sure. And you know, thing when we take people to a new area or a new experience and it's a bit different, start to focus on that human connection, I think, and understand the relationships and actually the direct impact of behaviours and how you communicate is really evident in those places. Matthias, I'm aware you're in the background. Do you have anything you'd like to mention?
Oh, well, I think that from my understanding, what FOLM is really about is about change, especially change of mindset, right? So going actually outdoors, it feels like it is a perfect way to leave the comfort zone, actually, and get some challenge, both when it comes to outdoors, when it comes to social interactions and so on. There's so much to talk about. However, while I do not and didn't when signing up for the for FOLM, I didn't treat it as a silent retreat. Nevertheless, the lack of technology, phones, well, usually you cannot just afford doing that for a week, can you? Do you? So it was a great experience to actually be able to do that while being taken care of by the trainers, also taking care of yourself and of others yourself. So I think it was a great benefit of the entire undertaking, and I'm really glad it happened.
Great, thanks, Matthias. And just thinking about, you know, young people having an amazing experience and then using that to move towards their goals. Just thinking about the program or the Edinburgh model that's existed, and you know, slight variation in the countries, but it's a similar model. We've got the first phase, which is about engaging young people and bringing them into the program, building a relationship with a coach. And then we've got an outdoor wilderness phase with an outdoor learning trainer or a team of trainers where we go out and practice behaviours, a chance to reflect on life. And then there's a third phase, which is where we start to think about these transferable skills or transversal competencies and how we contextualise or think about the learning that's happened to that point and how that's going to move us forwards to our goals. And in the project and FOLM, we've got a coach who helps support that process with mentoring as well. I'm interested to hear how, from your experience in the countries, how that sort of progression piece, that facilitated progression, has helped people move towards their goals. Oveen, you've done a bit of both.
Yeah. So I suppose, yeah, it's really interesting, you know, seeing, I suppose, the Edinburgh model and how it was adapted in each country. And I suppose I can speak from the Irish version, but really it was kind of that first kind of introduction meeting, and it was like the recruitment then went into the outdoor learning, and it was kind of like towards the end of the outdoor learning, it was just like the participants had so much energy, so much enthusiasm, and it was like, you know, they felt they could take on the world. But I noticed when it would come to the end of the expedition or the end of the outdoor learning period, that there would be, I even felt it myself, was I call them expedition blues. And you know, I felt that there was almost like you had created such a safe environment for these young people, and then it was like ended, and there was no kind of, it was just like, that's it. And whereas unfortunately a lot of outdoor kind of programs tend to just have this amazing experience in the outdoors, and then it's like send them back home again and hope for the best. But like I saw that because we had the coaching and mentoring afterwards, I saw this like kind of crash almost after the outdoor learning. And it was like, because we had the coaching and the mentoring there was a support there to help that young person actually reintegrate into their everyday life and go, okay, you've had all these amazing experience in the outdoors, you've learned about yourself, you have all these things, but then when they step back into their old environment, it's like, oh, I'm still in the same place that I was before this amazing experience. And so that's where I think the coaching and mentoring is key in helping them understand, okay, you can't control the environment around you, but you can control your actions and you can control the way you interact with the environment. And so that's where it's like giving them all these tools and, you know, kind of understanding of how they meet their needs, how they meet their, you know, what kind of effective behaviors can they continue doing to get their needs met is just so important. And I think, you know, without the coaching and mentoring, you know, there isn't that follow-up, or there isn't that, you know, talking with the participants after and going like, holding them accountable, I think, as well, to the action plans that they've written at the end of outdoor learning. You know, I think that's so, it's so helpful and it's so important to actually go, yeah, like you said, you're going to do this. You know, what have you done? What steps have you taken to reach that goal? So me personally, I think it's a key part of this program. It's a key part of this model. And, you know, it should definitely not be forgotten about. And it's, you know, as great as, like, I love the outdoors, but I think it is equally just as important to have that mentoring and coaching part to help them to reintegrate into their everyday life. So that's my opinion anyway. Thanks.
I'm very well said. Any others got a view on how the coaching and mentoring helps young people move towards their goals?
Yeah, I can say something. I don't know how Max or other coaches and mentors has been looking at this, but from the participant perspective, I can say that not only the coaches and the mentors, that they have done a perfect job without any doubt. They just make a multitasking. So I need languages. Somebody was checking for new classes of English or German. I am looking to this paperwork that I didn't have time to present, and I want to be in a new class of secondary, high school or academia. So I think they make a miracle in a way, just trying to help all these problems and fix the pipe just to get the water to the right position. But yeah, I think that this second and third part is harder to say from the participant, because you just have your own perspective. It's more individual part. So once you have lost the group, you just know yourself and how did you evolve, but you don't know how the rest of the people. Happily, I can say that several of my friends in this expedition of FOLM, we just stay in contact after. Even today, we have been talking last week, and you know each other, and you know that the people has been keep improving, but also all the different backgrounds. So not everybody was from the academia, not everybody was from you know, a family safe environment. So each person has like quite different heterogeneous background. I think that the main point of all of us is just that we have that sense of adventure, that sense of mind changing, as Matthew says before. So we were just linked because we would like to have that experience and just to change our life in one way, but our background was totally different with all the people that was participating. So I think that the mentors and the coaches made quite a genius work, and they just try to motivate us, try to make us focus to our goal, and just to bring the best for us. So I just can say thank you in the name not only for me but for all my colleagues, and I think that I am speaking for most of the participants. So yeah, thank you so much for that hard work.
So yeah, that's interesting. I come from I was an outdoor learning trainer. I was not in your expedition. I came a little bit later, but I have worked in a lot of different types of outdoor learning environments, and I think this part is so crucial. this transference part of what is learned to everyday life, and that action plan coming to life. And I think that and that's what I love about the Edinburgh model from the beginning. And I think that one thing that's interesting that from what I've learned, and I really appreciated from how it was done in Spain, is that the professionals that were the coaches and the mentors not only give that support for the participants and that accountability to continue on with their action plan, but they also know the roadmap on how to actually bring that to life in terms of what skills are needed, what are the options for education, more furthering on training with what the qualifications they have, and what are the actual real options to make that come to life.
Bro.
Yes, and I think nothing important can happen in 5 minutes, right? So the fundamental change will not happen without the passage of time, right? So coaching provides not only supportive people, but also this amount of time that changed our perspective. We can see and feel on our own body and mind that some changes appeared, right? Something important become permanent, some habits changed, some new skills really worked. So we can see this only in the perspective of a long time, right?
Sure. Matthias?
Yeah, sure. So in my opinion, coaching is very important in the sense of, well, even if you put in the right environment, like for example, live in the comfort zone that I spoke about earlier, like without proper guidance and attention, I don't think that those values and those changes can actually occur in the participants. So personally, I found it very encouraging to have someone professional who I could talk to both during and after the outdoors part, right? Because FOLM doesn't end only on the trip. And being able to speak out and share the worries and the struggles that we all face. I think defining those is very important, the first step. And then with all the following talks and workshops, because coaching wasn't happening only on the individual level, was also a group one as well. I think it was bringing the best out of us, and I think it was just necessary. FOLM wouldn't work without the coaches.
Brilliant, and great to hear that the model works, and we've seen that in the evidence. But I think it is really important, and I think that's one of the takeaways, that we can have really enriching and immersive experiences in the outdoors. But if people aren't well prepared for that, they're not going to get the best out of it. And then if that transfer isn't facilitated, the outcomes might not be quite as good. And for me, that's been one of the big things that we tried to do from the get-go. So a bit of a question from the audience. I might reframe it a little bit. From Rebecca Conway, she's asked, did we measure an increased care in relation of the participants to the natural world? So in a quick answer, we didn't measure connection to nature, but I'm maybe interested, Jera and Matthias in particular, did you feel through the program that you were more connected to nature, and have you been more inspired to go outside and get back there?
Well, I could begin. So I was felt connection, and I draw a lot of inspiration from nature. So I don't know whether I'm in position to speak about it, because I think my attitude towards it inherently was positive, and I always try to spend as much time outdoors as possible. However, at the same time, it has never happened in that form, without the technology, in a larger group. Also, not with friends, but with coaches and randomly met people. Really, it wasn't our choice of with whom we're going, who later on became friends. So I definitely can confirm that it did change my understanding and appreciation of nature. However, at the same time, I believe that I was always sort of connected and tried to spend as much time outdoors. yeah, I hope that answers. Sorry.
No, that's a great answer. And any answer from you is the best because you've been through the program and you experienced it. Yeah, right. What about you?
Yeah, probably I am not the best participant to answer. As an earth scientist, as a geologist, I think that my answer will be biased. So, yes, I was well connected before and after, and probably I will be linked forever. So, there is no doubt about. But I can say that from my point of view, yeah, most of the participants, they were taking care of, leaving everything clean, just to make sure that they were not destroying the nature. And in general, I think that yes, even one way or the other, or even indirectly, we were well connected, and the connection with the nature increased after the project without any doubt. Because when you spend like 7 days outdoors, and the only thing that you have is the nature, you have to take care. It's like your kitchen, it's your bathroom, it's everything. So then I think that you just realize, and you just make. Yeah, you are just sure that what's around you, what is surrounding you, and the value of all of that. So yes, totally, without any doubt, we increase the connection with the nature and also how we value.
That's really positive. And I think in this case, we've got two individuals who were really passionate about outdoors and nature, but I think recognizing that the program was about young people moving towards employment, and sometimes the outdoors can be a hook and people are excited and it's what gets them into the program. Sometimes the opposite is true, and we need to encourage people to take part in the outdoor learning part. So I'm interested to hear from a trainer's point of view what you've observed when you've been out on expeditions about people dealing with nature or becoming more connected.
Well, it was nice to watch, for example, especially female participants who had never ever been at the forest, and during our expeditions they were completely 100% involved in all activities we've been doing, regardless of rain, mud, dirt. So that was cool to see, and people can learn the new model of spending time close to the nature, right? So that's important value.
Thanks, Kiba.
Yeah, I always find it interesting to see participants at first, because experiences like this, there's so many elements of it that can be challenging for people, whether it be to share within a group. For some people is the actual physical hiking, and for others is being among dirt and in the mud. And it's always interesting for me to see participants at first be like, oh, we have to sit here, but look, there's mud and there's a cow dropping close by and this and that. And then by the end, there's all these bugs. And by the end, they're like, okay, maybe I won't. I can think of one participant in specifically that towards the end is like, you know what? Maybe the cow droppings aren't that bad. And I don't think I'm going to kill all mosquitoes anymore and all flies. So these little by little, and that was obviously someone who for them, that was a big struggle. But towards the end, they were able to reconcile with that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I suppose I might just I suppose anecdotally I can add, and also from the research point of view as well. But I suppose anecdotally, when I was out on expedition, I remember the very first day I met these group of participants, and they were all like smoking, and then they just kind of fecked it on the ground, and I was like, okay. I was like, now is not the time to talk about that. But later on, say 3 days into the expedition, one of the participants, who was one of those people who had dropped a cigarette on the ground, just started picking up rubbish, other people's rubbish, and started putting it in his backpack. He was like, his total behavior towards actually looking after the environment, or had completely changed within 3 days. And that wasn't prompted. It was just through the discussions that we had out in the environment. And why do we have a bottle to put the cigarette butts in, or and it was having those discussions around it which really helped. And I suppose even from the research point of view, I know Eula has said that like the people's interaction with nature has definitely improved. And I know from even looking at we were over the quality and assurance research, so we had all the questionnaires coming in from the young people, and it was noted definitely in that there was like nature came up as a prominent, I suppose, feature of what impacted them while they were out there. And it was, so it was great even reading through all their comments, going like, I have this love for the environment, or I have this love for nature now. So yeah, I think it's really important that young people are, I suppose they're getting that experience, that positive experience with the environment, and especially through maybe place-based learning, and that you can continually have those positive relationships and interactions with the environment and nature. So that's all that I can hope for, and I suppose that's how young people will care for this planet, is by having these positive interactions and with the environment and with nature. And that's, as Pete referred to it earlier, we're just going to have to create positive experiences with the environment, and then we'll want to look after the earth, because it is our home after all. So
yeah, absolutely. And Aidan's mentioned that in the chat there about we've got the wilderness experiences, that's great, and we can have these huge expeditions, but actually there's lots of urban green space and opportunities for, I was going to say young people, but all people, to connect locally with their place, their community, understand and care for nature. And I think it's incumbent on us as coaches and trainers to promote that behaviour. And Max, I was thinking about what you were saying about that, the experience with the bugs and learning, not to squash them and to be a bit resilient. And we heard in the video clips after coffee from Bashka, and how she was able to, she used a phrase that I love, she was able to name her resources and understand what was going on. And although she didn't get the job the first time, she had resilience and she kept trying until she got a good outcome. And just thinking about that experience that you had in the forest, how do you see the project using those experiences to build that resilience and move people forwards to taking a blow and keeping going when times are tough?
So I think another particular moment comes to mind with the participant, and she was, again, for her, the big struggle was the physical component. And in the area we used in Cantabria, as Jerai will remember, it's quite hilly, right? There's a big hill, the backpacks is pretty weighted. All participants have been able to do it, so it's not very long distance, and it has been within their capabilities. But for a lot of them, it's pretty daunting to look up and see this huge hill, and that's where they have to go, and realize at some point that maybe their rhythm is not the same as the groups, and then they have to stop and wait, and then after that, realizing that they can continue and getting up to the hill. And I remember this participant saying, pretty much just falling to her knees and tears coming from her eyes, and said, "I made it. Look, Max, I made it. I made it up the hill. And if I can do this, I can do anything." And it sounds very cheesy, but those were literally the words that came out of her mouth. And I think that's kind of the type of learning that then later is extrapolated, and sometimes with just giving them space and a freedom to think about stuff, and that reflective space within a group or with one-on-one on the trainer, they themselves come to that realization. So it's not put upon them of like, oh, look, you climb up the hill, now you can do everything. But it comes from their experience, and it's really ingrained within that, whether it be that metaphor or what they learn in that resilience. So I think that's what makes it very powerful, is that it comes from their experience, and then they own it. And then from then on, it's the job as well within, as a facilitator, to help them see that is actually really transferable, and how can they use that? And then within that, language becomes used as well with the coaches and mentors to further on take that with them.
I have a similar example. I remember a really cold and rainy day, and a really young, slim girl wearing two sweatshirts and two raincoats. And we've been talking during the one-to-one session, and she said that she's completely fine with all that discomfort because of the people around her, right at the expedition. So she said that if I have such a people around me during my everyday life, I will be able to cope with any challenge in my life, right? So yeah.
Great to hear. Jerai or Matthias, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think linking a bit with the comment that Mas says, it's basically the backpack was a key component of this experience, at least in Cantabria. I don't know in the rest, but probably more or less similar. We have at the beginning of the experience, like I don't know, half an hour or 40 minutes just to decide what kind of food we would like to bring with us because we won't have any chance to take until the third or the fourth day. So basically, I can remember everybody just trying to bring like, oh, I would like to have eggs tomorrow for breakfast, but how can I keep those eggs without being broken? So everybody was using gloves just to make safe, whatever. And then it's like, okay, I don't want to have that heavy backpack, so I will just take this bit of coffee, and then probably the second day is like, oh, there is no coffee. How can I fix now? So this word that now is like a new fashion, resilience. All the people start like, oh, I have sugar. Oh, I have coffee. I will change the coffee, and then you will give me sugar. So this is like a teamwork. Everybody has needs. So then I think it was a nice experience, and also you just realize, everybody will have coffee today or sugar. It's not going to be a daily problem. But in that circumstances, in that moment, then you just said, okay, this is quite well value that I have sugar and my colleague has other things that we can share to each other and make this team bigger and more comfortable. So I think that is totally great to have all this experience and just to think about, because sometimes we forget how lucky we are. So
Brilliant. It's a grounding experience. Matthias.
Well, so about staying resilient and about diligence, I think we didn't have this one massive hill that we had to climb up. So I did not have such crisis situation that I've experienced. However, like the entire FOLM undertaking is one journey, right? So it's about building up a healthy schedule and maybe not routine, but system that makes you being consistent with your actions and thoughtful about yourself and others, right? Because you just need to make the entire journey safe and successful, right? So this 7 days outdoors with an objective, with workshops, and a person needs to stay consistent. So I definitely, I've been employed like after graduating. So I definitely can say that this kind of attitude of being aware that you need to put effort into achieving your goals every day, not once, I don't know, in a while. I think this was very important, and I think that the aspect that other participants were relying and benefiting from the same attitude, I think it was also very eye-opening. So for example, like if every day we would go to another spot, right? So a few kilometers, it wasn't long distances, but with the backpacks and stuff, just in Spain, we would need to go to this one spot and then put up our tents, prepare dinner, and this kind of stuff. And if we failed at that, we just wouldn't have that. And so even though it was, let's say, mundane because it was happening every day, it was real value was out of it and actual pleasure of succeeding every day. So I think this is what built up my consistency after the FOLM. Yeah,
that's amazing. And special thanks to Jerai and Matthias, because I think you have been able to articulate and explain the journey, the metaphorical journey, much better than any of us could. So it's really great to hear the impact it's had for you personally. And I think we're sort of coming to the end of the panel, but it does cause me to reflect on the start of this morning when we were thinking about Pete taking his group down the river. And he flashed up that great slide of all the things that have happened around that. And it's not just the canoeing. And I think that's what we've been discussing here. It's not, yes, we get a lot from being outside and there's benefits to being in nature, but the sort of intentionality of the program and that understanding that people have different backgrounds, a different starting point, and the end point will be different as well, and how we then use that experience, all the things we do around the canoeing or the outdoors or the walking or the carrying the bigger rucksacks, and how we recognize the sort of tangible bits of those experiences and learn from them to take them forward in life.